Hey everybody, it's Welonz, and it is currently February 2021. I needed to make a new intro to the intro of this video because back when I first recorded it, it was October, November of last year, and I really didn't think it was gonna take this long for the video to come out, so I still talk as if it's 2020. I just wanted to let you know that it's not because I've gone crazy from the pandemic yet. Some of why this has taken so long are reasons out of my control, but probably a bigger reason is that I'm not even really sure if I like talking about myself outside of playing a video game that much. You'll notice that on the entire channel, that happens pretty infrequently. So yeah, I kept putting it off and off and off, but I'm pretty sure my 2020 self has apologized enough for the both of us, so I'll pass the puck to her. Hey everybody, my name is Welonz, and welcome! Welcome to the 50k subscribers Q&A video. Yay! Yay! As I say with a tint of dread in my voice. I'm very, very sorry that it took this long. I knew this would happen the moment I started taking questions, but I couldn't prevent it. It still happened anyway. For some context, this channel hit 50k subscribers a few months back, and I started taking questions for a Q&A from Patreon, YouTube memberships, Twitter, and also the YouTube community section. And these questions have been sitting here for a few months now. If you look at the number on the side, that's the date. So I am really terribly sorry I'm so late. But to make up for it, I was thinking I would try to elaborate more on whatever questions I can, wherever I can. This might make the video pretty damn long, but if you're here, I'm assuming you're used to pretty long videos anyway. Same as last time, I'm gonna roll over whatever question I'm answering, so you can skip through the video to see whatever you're interested in. And there were quite a number of repeat questions that were already in the last Q&A, but to be honest, I didn't check it. If it's like a really obvious repeat question, I'm not gonna answer it again, but if it isn't, I might still answer it anyway. I also tried to reword and make the questions more concise, because what happened a lot of the times was that you guys were so nice, a lot of you sent in paragraphs of stuff, and then the question would be at the very end. I read every word, but for time purposes, I'm gonna focus more on answering the questions. I did spend a good bit of time sorting this, so I'm really hoping I didn't mess up anywhere, but yeah, why don't we start then? Game section. By the way, a lot of these questions might fall into multiple sections, so just because this is the game section doesn't mean that there's not going to be game questions outside of this section. Number 1, how did I get into gaming? Do people normally remember how they get into gaming? Probably when I was younger, like I'm talking maybe 5 or 6 or 7-ish, my parents got me a Game Boy. It was either that or the Digimon Tamagotchis. I don't know if anyone knows what I'm talking about, but back then, there were these really popular Digivice Tamagotchi things where you raise a Digimon. All the kids in the neighborhood were basically playing stuff like that, so it was pretty damn popular. And then on the Game Boy, probably Pokemon would be the first game I got really obsessed with. The first generation. I might have mentioned this in the last Q&A too. I started gaming pretty young, but then all the way up until high school, the end of high school, at some point, I just fell off gaming entirely, and during university is probably when I picked up the gaming interest again. So that's why a lot of like remakes and remasters of old classic games, I've never played the original, just because back then, I had a fairly big blank period with gaming. How did I get into it again though? I'm not sure. Maybe it's just because gaming is becoming more popular and mainstream in general. Probably something like, oh, Valve was giving away Portal for free on Steam, and then that's how my PC gaming journey began. What's a game that most folk like, but you think is bad? This is kind of a negative question to start off with right away. I feel like my tastes are fairly mainstream. I don't think there's really that many games that people like but I don't like. So I honestly can't think of too much right now. Bad? Like maybe not as good as people say it is, but bad? No, I can't think of much. How do you feel about turn-based combat in games? And this person wrote something about how the turn-based combat in FF7 might be considered boring, but the one in Persona is great. I haven't played either of these games, not the original FF7, so I don't really have a comment on it. Coming from stuff like Pokemon, I never had a problem with turn-based combat, I guess, but it's not really like... I never really thought about it. It's there. I don't find it boring, I don't find it fun, it's just there, pretty much. The Last of Us 2 has pretty polarized opinions due to its character's actions. What would you have done if you were in Ellie's shoes? if I was in Ellie's shoes but with my personality, right? So first of all, I probably would have died in the beginning of the apocalypse, but if I didn't, I probably wouldn't do what she did. The thing that starts off the beginning of The Last of Us 2. Trying to avoid spoilers here, but I'm not really... Would probably be more like, oh well, and then move on. Sounds really bad, but that's probably what would have happened. Hey Welonz, can you now confirm that you clearly love Tifa a lot more than Aerith during your FF7 remake Let's Play? It's okay, it was obvious. Okay, to be completely fair, Tifa and Aerith, I like them both for different reasons. So, if you're asking me who I like more as a character, I might say Tifa, but if you ask me something like, oh, which girl would you rather date? Then I might say Aerith, you know? Mainly because I feel like Tifa is more similar to me than Aerith, and it might be fun to be with someone that's not as similar. Yeah, so hey, I love them both in different ways. You're trying to throw me under the bus here, I know it. Stop it. Which non-AAA games you've played on the channel would you consider underrated and deserving more attention? A lot of indie games. A lot. Most people really only pay attention to stuff that has a lot of marketing behind it. And so a lot of really good stuff flies under the radar, oftentimes just because they don't have enough marketing. Off the top of my head, Outer Wilds has pretty high praise these days, so probably not. Maybe something like the Fall series. This is a trilogy. The third game's not out yet, but it's a trilogy about AI, computer stuff. I'm not making it sound very smart here, but I enjoyed it, and I don't think very many people know about it. But yeah, basically the majority of the indie games I've played here, I feel like a lot of them are really damn good, but they really don't get enough eyes on them. What game made you love games? Pokemon? Up until the second generation, I played every single game. I played red, I played blue, I played green, I played yellow, I played gold, I played silver, I played crystal. Every single one of these games to completion. And you might be thinking, what? Pokemon Green? That's not a thing. Just not in America for whatever reason. Which game character do you think describes you the best? I don't think there's really any one character that I look at and I'm like, whoa, that person is so me, or I can really relate to them. But Max Caulfield from Life is Strange. Because in the beginning of the game, she had to join a photo contest and her teacher was like, hey Max, hurry up and submit your thing because the deadline's soon. And there was a part where Max is thinking, oh, but should I really submit this? I'm not even good enough. Why should I do this? I'm not gonna. And she tears up the photo. That was something I could really resonate with, not having enough confidence in the things you do. Not the greatest trait to be relating to somebody with, but hey, I can't change it. It is what it is. Why don't I like horror games? Are you already comfortable with horror games? Why don't I like horror games? Because they're scary. What do you want me to answer? No, I'm not comfortable. Although, I do feel like lately, I've been getting much better than before. Yeah, because recently I even did a first look of Amnesia Rebirth, and I was freaked out. But I wasn't freaked out enough to not play it, Before, I would seriously be so scared that I wouldn't even want to play the game. Even earlier this year, Resident Evil 2. To be completely honest, for the first few hours, I really did not want to play that game. What story-driven games will you never play? None! Never? Never is a pretty strong word. I'm not sure why there are games that I would never play. There's just a lot of games out there, so it's impossible for me to get around to all of them, but there's not a single game that I would say, I will never touch this. No. Have you played anything in VR? Do you have or plan on getting a VR system? Eventually. I do want to, but it's a pretty hefty cost. Not just in terms of getting the VR system, but you also have to have a good enough computer to be able to run it, and your room, have enough room space to make use of it, and all this other, related peripheral costs. So at the moment, no. Although I do plan on getting one sometime in the future, because I'm interested in playing Half-Life Alyx. Earlier this year, I visited the Valve headquarters in Seattle as a tourist, and they did have a Valve Index in their lobby. I played a little bit of, the lab, I think? There was a robot worm dog, and you could play fetch with it and stuff. So that was pretty fun, but I haven't tried a full-fledged game in VR yet. Do you think you'll get sick of games one day? Haha, what makes you think I'm not already sick of games? Haha, maybe. Who knows what the future holds? At the moment, I don't see it happening just because games as a whole, well, each game is unique, So even if you get sick of one game, there are still other games out there. So at the moment, I feel like that wouldn't happen, but who knows? What were life-changing / most impactful games for you? Life-changing? Life-changing games? Well, most impactful? In recent memory, it's Outer Wilds. Definitely. Because I've never seen a game with that kind of mechanic and gameplay system tell a story and affect me that way, is the least spoilery way I can put it. But Life is Strange might also be another big one. The thing that happens in episode 4, I really haven't played any other game that's given me that feeling before. And it's not a good feeling, but just to know that a game can replicate that kind of emotion, I guess is impactful. What are the games that you think about the most and have changed your perspective on life? Well, not so much these days anymore, but back in the summer, back when I first finished playing it, The Last of Us 2, that was pretty surprising and shocking and out of the ordinary for quite a few reasons. So I've been thinking about it a lot. But games that have changed my perspective on life? I'm not sure if I can think of any, if I take those words really, really, really seriously. Does real-life controversy regarding a gaming company affect your enjoyment of a game? Yeah, I would say so. It doesn't feel nice knowing that you're enjoying something built off the suffering of others. Yeah, but it's also kind of like depending on which kind of controversy, what kind of controversy. If it's stuff like crunch, it's really confounding because do you play this thing that people worked really, really hard on, or do you not play it even though they put so much effort into it? If you could forget everything about one game and play it again, as if for the first time, which game would it be? Outer Wilds, no question. That game in particular has it's not really possible to replay the game if you remember stuff, so that game in particular, out of everything else. What's a game mechanic that impressed you the most? I think Outer Wilds was pretty neat. Outer Wilds has well, it's definitely very unique, but were the game mechanics really that unique? One game that I always come back to in terms of game mechanics, especially for storytelling, is Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. I haven't played this game on the channel before, but it's a 3-hour-ish game, pretty short game. It's spoiler territory, so I can't say too much, but it does something really interesting that I've never seen any other game do before, in which it tells a story using unconventional ways. So if you're looking for something new to play, I would really recommend that. Make sure to play with a controller, and I do emphasize play because it's one of those games where you can't really get the full experience by watching a video. What's your most anticipated game of the coming months? Imposter Factory. To the Moon 3. Who wouldn't be excited for Dr. Watts and Dr. Rosaline? Yeah! What video game would you like a good movie / series adaptation of? Video games? I think it's okay that they remain video games. I understand that probably getting an adaptation will mean that the game will get a bigger fan base and all, but oftentimes games are games for a reason. You can't play a movie in the same way as you play a video game. So for stuff like Naughty Dog games, these adapt pretty easily into series because the cutscenes and all, but something like, for example, NieR Automata, that wouldn't adapt very well into a series, right? So there's not really anything that I'm really dying to see an adaptation of, especially because Hollywood and whoever don't really have a good track record of doing those well. What advice would you give to someone who enjoys video games and their stories, but is worried about being bad at them, and thus lessening the quality of the experience? Unless if you're recording it for YouTube to be judged by all the people on the internet, I don't think you should worry about playing bad. And usually, for myself, if I play bad and get stuck somewhere, I don't really blame the game for that, so that doesn't really affect my experience of it, I guess. Yeah, play on easy, play with cheats, look up a walkthrough and then play it, whatever works. How are you so good at gaming? Is this a sarcastic question? I don't think I'm that good at gaming, but I also don't feel like I'm that bad at gaming. If I had to assess my own skills, it would probably be average. I get stuck at the same spots that everybody else does, but I also don't excessively have trouble with any one spot, usually. What is your ideal video game? Probably an immersive sim. I've mentioned this on and off here and there. Immersive sims are probably my favorite video game genre of all video games. So stuff like Prey, and I've played the latest 2 Deus Exes, but not the previous ones. So Human Revolution and Mankind Divided, stuff like that. If I can make my own game, what would it be like? So gameplay would be immersive sim. Story would probably be something sci-fi related too. I like sci-fi. So again, what I'm really describing here is Deus Ex and Prey. Do you have IRL friends? Wait, whoops, sorry. Do you have IRL friends you like gaming together with online? What is your group like playing? Haha, very funny, very funny. Yeah, I do. Recently, we've been playing Overcooked. But we usually play stuff that's like cooperative as opposed to competitive. So not stuff like, Call of Duty Deathmatch, but more stuff like, oh, 4-player co-op Magicka, 4-player co-op Overcooked. Although Overcooked is kind of, it could be a friendship killer. How is your experience with the Nintendo Switch so far? Yeah, some questions asked if I have a Switch, and I do. I got one last year. Around this time too, so it's been a year since I've had my Switch, and I've done exactly nothing on it besides playing Ring Fit Adventure, and then the one first look of Tokyo Dark. I haven't really found the right game to really dig into on the Switch yet, especially because I have it in my living room for playing Ring Fit, but if I want to record it, I gotta bring it all the way back to my recording setup and then like replug all the wires and stuff, which is really, really annoying, so haven't really done too much with it, unfortunately. It's like my dedicated exercise machine. Oh, and this person wanted to also say hi to their 2020 self. Hopefully this video comes out before 2020. I know this is talking about how long it's gonna take me to do this, but it's also a little bit depressing when you think about it too hard, cause, 2020 hasn't been a good year for anybody, really. Anyway, next section, game suggestions. What do you feel about game suggestions and requests? Where would it need to be appropriate? Well, you can give it to me anywhere, but Twitter, I think, is the best place if you really want to give it to me. And I can also reply to you if you tweet at me. No place is really inappropriate unless if you're putting it in like part 1 of a new video series, in which I'm definitely not looking for game suggestions. Are you bothered by game suggestions? Generally no, unless if you're bringing it up like 50 times. Do you only play blind games? No. It just so happens that if it's a new game, then chances are I haven't played it yet. In fact, the first non-Minecraft game I played on the channel, a really more serious Let's Play, was Sleeping Dogs, and at that point when I recorded it, that was like my 3rd or 4th time playing it. It just feels that way, because I play a lot of new games. How much thought do you give to a game before deciding to play it? Is it just, this game looks cool, let's go for it? Or do you check stuff like how long it is, consider other games you're currently playing, check future releases to see if nothing big is coming up, etc.? Good question. I consider every single thing that you mention here. In a nutshell, my main criteria is relevance. There are so many different choices and games out there that it's really difficult for me to decide what to play. And so, what I mean by that is, I need some reason to play it over another game. Especially in terms of making videos for YouTube. For example, this game is new, people are searching for it, therefore, that's a good reason that I should play it right now. Or, hey, this game has a sequel or prequel coming out soon, I should probably play it so I can catch up and wait for the new game to come out. That kind of thing? And I probably wouldn't want to do something like play 2 games that are really similar at the same time. However, the shorter a game is, the more I can ignore these things. If a game is like 3 hours long, then sure, I can just get to it in one weekend. I don't really have to think too hard about it. And also another way that I bypass these so-called requirements is by votes on Patreon. If you guys weren't aware, sometimes on Patreon, I hold votes on what game to play next, and whatever my patrons pick there, that's what we play. And then in that case, I wouldn't really consider all these criterias that closely. Have you ever tried Xbox Game Pass? No, I have not. Seems like a good deal though, although it's coming out of beta soon. Are you interested in playing more games outside of your realm, but is still story intensive? I think Hades, well this question was asked in August, but right now I'm playing Hades, which I feel like pretty much fits this criteria. I played it on a complete whim, but I've been really surprised at how much I've been enjoying it. And then the rest of this is basically individual games that people ask me, hey, would you ever play them? I mean, according to the criteria I mentioned before, you might be able to guess my answers to a lot of these already, but I'll really quickly try to go through them. Fallout series. People have recommended me to play Fallout New Vegas before. I've also played a few hours of Fallout 3 before, although I don't remember anything from it. And my impression is that it's a long game, so it's difficult to find time to really fit in, especially because Fallout, Skyrim, these kind of Bethesda games, They're pretty damn open world and could really take a long time. Not opposed to them, but just not high on the priority list, especially depending on what else I'm playing at the moment. Assassin's Creed, Far Cry. Ubisoft games? I've played 3 before, to completion, and none of the Assassin's Creeds. By the way, when I say I played a game before, I'm just trying to give you more context. It doesn't mean I'm opposed to playing it again for the channel. These 2 games I have some interest in, but to be completely frank, I really haven't had people coming up to me being like, hey Welonz, these games have really good storylines, so they've kind of been on the back burner. Doom series. Same issue with issue? Not really an issue, but it's not like super story-based, but I wouldn't be opposed to playing it though. If people want to see me tear up demons in a shooter sometime, maybe. Metal Gear. This one I get asked about pretty frequently, and I want to play it too, especially after playing Death Stranding, but I can't because there's a lot of obstacles in the way. First of all, I don't think I can even play them all on the PS4, can I? The remaster was on the PS3, I believe. And then second of all, it's Konami, and Konami are really aggressive on YouTube. I know that they basically claim everything, including cutscenes, so that's really it's a big barrier. But if they ever come out with like a PS5 remaster, and there's no annoying YouTube issues, I would definitely be interested in playing. Xenoblade Chronicles. This game I've also been asked about before, but it's a little bit too long. It's like 100 hours long. That's a really big commitment for me. Anything under 5 hours is an easy play for me. Anything from 5 hours to 20 hours, 30 hours, that's okay. And then anything above 30 hours is really difficult for me to commit to. So 100 hours is well above 30 hours, which makes this really difficult. Ace Attorney series. I've played the first one before on my phone because I got an iOS port back in the day, like way back in the day. I don't remember anything, so I wouldn't be opposed to playing it. But, would it be in the near future? I don't know. I'd love to play all of them. Yeah, but, not sure when I'll get around to it. Nintendo games. Looking for the right one. Ideally, something on the shorter end, something more story-intensive. Not sure what that kind of Nintendo game would look like. Because Nintendo gives me the impression they mostly focus on really fun, solid gameplay. And I usually look for stories, so I'm not sure where would be a good point to start with for Nintendo. Yakuza series. Oh, I want to play this game pretty badly, but it's so long. Okay, let's not say series, okay? Let's say Yakuza 0. I know this game is really long, and last year I tried playing Judgment. And I remember the reception was pretty lukewarm, so I'm not really sure if people are interested in seeing it. Although personally, I'm very interested in it. Dragon Age series. I haven't played a single game here. Wouldn't be opposed to catching up if a new one comes out. A new one has been announced, right? But 4 games? Is it 4 games now? Yeah, that's a lot to catch up on. I have interest, just not sure when I'll get around to it. Resident Evil 4. This one I definitely want to play, but there's a remake coming out in 2022, right? So I feel like at this point I should probably wait for the remake. And if it really sucks, then we can go back to the original. But at this point, since we're so close anyway, I think I might wait. Maybe I'll try the other ones like Resident Evil 1 or something in the meantime while waiting. Control AWE. Think you know your answer by now. Sorry for making you wait. NieR Replicant Remaster and NieR Reincarnation. Oh my god, this person brings up the Forest of Myth sections in NieR. I completely forgot about that. Do people really want to watch me play the remaster? Because I've already played the original before, and it was okay. I enjoyed my experience with it, but there were a lot of little annoying things that if they don't fix or change in the remaster, I can kind of see being annoying. And I know I played Gestalt, not Replicant, but to my knowledge, the only difference is that Gestalt is the father, and Replicant is a brother. I don't know, maybe. Depends on what else I'm playing when it comes out, probably. Reincarnation is the phone game, right? Probably not, unless if it's really good. Rakuen? I have interest. One of those things that I should get around to on a rainy day or something, hopefully. Days Gone. I was gonna play this. It was on my schedule already, but then the reviews came out and they were kind of crappy, so I just kind of didn't play it. Especially because, as I know it, it's a bit of a lengthy game too. Iconoclast? Haven't heard of this game. I'll have to look it up. Elder Scrolls. Yeah, I mentioned it earlier with Fallout. Wouldn't be opposed to it, need a reason. Resident Evil 7. First-person horror game? Give me a few more years to buff up first. Cyberpunk. This doesn't need to be asked. Homestuck. I've heard some good things about it, but to my knowledge, it's a 3-act game. And right now, Act 1 is out, Act 2 is just about to come out, and it's been like years already. So maybe when all 3 of them come out, but right now, probably not. Especially with how many things I have to get to. Beyond Good and Evil. I know the second one has been announced, so maybe when that comes out, I'm not sure. I don't know much about it besides that one trailer with a monkey and the pigs, was it? Batman Arkham series. I've played the first 2 before. Arkham Asylum and Arkham City? And they were pretty fun. At times pretty scary too. Wouldn't be opposed to revisiting it, especially because I never played Arkham Knight. Danganronpa V3. Probably not. Yeah, I've answered this one many times already, but at this point, it's a bit too far out from the direction I want this channel to be taken in. The Walking Dead series. Oh yes, I've played Michonne here before, but 1, 2, 3, 4. Bit of a difficult one for me to play because I feel like maybe it's one that should be best played blind, but I've played the first one before. I've played the first one, vaguely know what happens in the second one, and then after that, Telltale was struggling a lot and I kinda lost interest in the whole series. So maybe if a new game comes out in that series someday, but the Telltale formula, it was really cool when it first came out, but in 2020, I feel like it's probably fairly dated by now. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Maybe. I have been recommended this a little bit before, but I don't know much about Star Wars. Alien Isolation. Devil May Cry 5. Again, maybe. Don't know too much about it. Stuff like Star Wars, Devil May Cry, Darksiders, these are games that I've heard about, but I don't really know too much about it. If I hear something like, oh, the stories in these games are particularly good, that's a really good way to get my attention. But otherwise, they're not usually on my radar. Deadly Premonition. I have some interest in this because I know it's kind of like a cult classic, and I know they have a second one too. But I do remember it being quite lengthy, like 30 hours or so. Maybe sometime, maybe. I mean, a lot of my answers to these are gonna be maybe because I can't really guarantee anything unless if I'm gonna do it tomorrow or something. Dishonored DLC and Dishonored 2. Yes, didn't get around to the DLC yet, but I'm definitely going back whenever I can find time. The DLC and 2. Again, it really falls back to the whole relevance thing, because there's no new Dishonored game coming out, so it's hard for me to find a reason to go back now, as opposed to later in the future when maybe a new Dishonored game comes out. Disco Elysium. Quite a few people have asked me about this, but I feel like it's really hard because this game is pretty much entirely text, and it would be really difficult and high effort for me to read everything out loud. Plus, I know the viewership on YouTube for this game is really, really niche. I know someone hearing this is probably gonna say, no, a lot of people love this game. And I know a lot of people love it, but I can definitely tell you definitively, based on numbers and stats, that people on YouTube aren't really interested in this game. Switch games. Think we answered a Nintendo games earlier. Oh, Fire Emblem, Astral Chain. Again, these are both pretty lengthy though, right? Yeah, these Japanese weeb games are always so damn long. If anyone has a suggestion for a shorter weeb game, I'd definitely love to give it a try, but at this point, those games are long. One-Shot Solstice DLC? Probably not. The base game didn't interest me enough for me to want to play more. Mass Effect 1 to 3. I've played them before, a long time ago, long time ago, before the channel was a thing, so I don't really remember much. Isn't the remaster coming out next year? Yeah, so maybe that would be a great time for me to revisit it for the channel. Andromeda though? Let's see how we do after the remaster first. Yeah. Breath of the Wild. Heard many good things about it, but length. Quantum Break. I wanted to play this game when it first came out, but at that time, my computer wasn't good enough. Now I can play it, maybe closer to when Alan Wake 2 comes out or something. I've heard good things about it, but it's one of those games that didn't really get much attention, I guess. Cross Code. Have not heard about this game. We'll have to look into it. Okay, Souls games, like Dark Souls, Sekiro, or Bloodborne. Puzzle games, The Witness, Talos Principle, Myst, or real-time strategy games, Age of Empires, Mythology, Spellforce. I put these ones together because I feel like I avoid them for the same reason. Of these ones, I'm particularly interested in the Souls series, but these are games that generally invite a lot of opinion and backseat gaming in the comment section. I have interest in these games, but I'm not sure if these are experiences I want to share with people on the internet. I've heard Sekiro might be a good one to start with that because it's a little bit different from the other ones in terms of people not backseating as much, but I don't know. Subnautica. Oh, I'm definitely interested. I need to find time. Imposter Factory. Yes, no question. Horror gaming. Slowly? Like for Halloween or something, yeah? Visual novels with no gameplay except choices. Not high on the priority list, I would say, especially depending on whether it has voice acting or not. Co-op games, like A Way Out or We Were Here. And this question was asking, would I ever bring in a friend to play these games with me? I've actually talked about these games specifically with a friend of mine, and maybe, I wouldn't say no, but the chances are not that high because I've been doing my own thing here for a while, and when you involve another person, a lot of complications arise. Maybe, if I can find time with a friend or something. Especially A Way Out. Earlier I mentioned liking Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, and it's by the same studio, so I would really like to play that sometime. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. You know the answer to this one already? Deus Ex 1 and 2. I haven't played them before. I would like to. Maybe when a new Deus Ex game comes out, which is looking kinda dismal right now. Alpha Protocol. I've played it before, but I distinctly remember this one being really interesting, so I wouldn't be opposed to going back for it. KOTOR. Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. Same thing here. Have heard good things about it, haven't played it before, would definitely like to someday.